Tell me, Dr. Freeman, if you can. You have destroyed so much. What is it exactly that you have created? Can you name even one thing? I thought not.
I've played through Half-Life 2 more times than I can count, and I'm convinced it doesn't end anymore. The Half-Life franchise is a masterpiece, a seminal moment for the FPS genre, unleashing a wave of more story-driven shooters that oppose John Carmack's philosophy. Story in a video game is like story in a porn movie. It's expected to be there, but it's not that important. The characters, icons. The mysteries, endless. The story, that's where things get more interesting. The story of Half-Life, both in-game and in reality, starts with Doom in 1993, the father of the FPS genre. Doom, at the time, was the biggest game in history and flipped the entire industry on its head, spawning a wave of Doom clones which would eventually be known as out-and-out first-person shooters. The story similarities between Doom and Half-Life are quite interesting. Both feature a silent protagonist in a seemingly impenetrable suit of armour fighting an unknown and deadly alien force invading an advanced outpost, which in Doom's case is a Martian colony and in Half-Life's is the Black Mesa research facility. So, both games undoubtedly share similarities. I won't go so far as to say it was copied from one to another, but the original name of Half-Life was Quiver, as in Quiver and Quake, with Quake being the name of another important FPS released by John Carmack and id Software of Doom fame in 1996, which was 2 years before Half-Life's own release in 1998, and also Half-Life's Gold Circuit engine, which powers Half-Life 1, was derived from Quake's engine, which eventually be released by John Carmack as open source the next year and laid the groundwork for thousands of games and dozens of other engines. I'm just saying there are a few similarities between the games, okay? That's all I'm saying. No plagiarism. None at all. Anyways, plagiarism aside, just Half-Life's opening is a clear rebuttal to Carmack's philosophy, as you spend 10 minutes as a passive observer of the world, hearing announcements through the audio system, and you watch a variety of workers and advanced machinery navigate deadly work environments. To contrast this, Doom just drops you into the Martian base, with your only goal to rip and tear until it is done. Half-Life has much the same action, but with far more substance. You meet with scientists who give you instructions, scientists you can kill if you really want to. But we have to look beyond just the games themselves, because there has been various continuations and adaptations of Half-Life's story, such as Epistle 3, released by the writer of the Half-Life series, Mark Laidlaw, which was worded very, very carefully as to not mention Half-Life directly. Gertrude Fremont, any guesses as to who that could possibly be? There's also Half-Life Alyx, which I'm sure I'll make a video on at some point. Then there are other fan-made games, such as Black Mesa or Hunt Down the Freem. Yeah, we don't talk about that last one, just ignore how I said that. Looking over my most played games, there's two dominant types, either a game without a preset story, like Terraria, but also strategy games like Hearts of Iron, which lacks a real story, although I guess its story would just be actual real-life history, whatever. Or it's a multiplayer game with that element being placed first, and although yes, while I have played through Halo Infinite twice, that's not a majority of the 110 hours, and MCC doesn't really count because that's 5 games. But there is one exception. Technically there's also Portal 2, but that's a whole other video. That's in the future. I'm dealing with Half-Life now. I can't explain it, I just never get tired of seeing Freeman step off that train to City 17. The monologues on instinct given by Breen on the first interaction with Barney. There's just something about it that keeps bringing me back. I've memorized every part of the game, and not to toot my own horn too much, but I've got pretty good at it. I can breeze through most parts of the game. Except for Nova Prospect. Jesus Christ, I hate Nova Prospect. But aside from that, the game isn't a challenge anymore. Even the final battle in episode 2, which used to vex me to no end, is a cakewalk now. Yet I still go back. Every time I see Eli die in that warehouse, spoiler alert, and the credits roll, I just immediately default back to the start of Half-Life 2, beginning again. I haven't had this with any other game, not Halo, not Doom, not even Portal 2, although I have played that one a few times. I am not sure why. Perhaps it's just a testament to how good it is? Not really, because I place Halo and Portal on the same level, yet I don't have the same endless attachment to them. Maybe it's a lack of a proper conclusion to the story. Whenever I play through the Half-Life series, it's almost always just the second one plus the episodes, never the first. Half-Life 2 doesn't get a proper ending, unlike the first game, which at least ends somewhat conclusively with a G-Man. Obviously, if you know anything about Half-Life, you know there was never a third. Well, technically there was, but like I said, that's for another video. This lack of a proper conclusion has led to countless memes, demands, and over 5,000 days of waiting, with little news. This lack of an ending probably contributes, but perhaps it's something else as well. Half-Life has a unique way of transmitting its story, entirely without cutscenes, save for the beginning and ending of each game. At every other point when characters talk to one another, you are at least kept in the driver's seat and can still interact with the world. Or maybe its endless nature arises from its characters. Gordon Freeman is a silent protagonist and therefore gives the player more agency within the game. Not to mention he's one of my favourite fictional characters. The same goes for Alex. On my first playthrough I found her really annoying, but over time she's grown on me, especially after I finished Half-Life Alyx. Is it one of these factors? All of them? None of them? I don't know. Half-Life is just an amazing franchise, and I implore you to go buy it now and play through it, from the first to episode 2. Hell, if you want an Index, a Rift, or a Quest or whatever, go play Half-Life Alyx, it's great. Unless you're motion sick like me, then your enjoyment might be muted a little. But even if you are, you'll enjoy a great few hours of gameplay after buying it. All in all, Half-Life just has everything working in favour of it. This is probably where Half-Life's endless nature arrives, because of its lack of cutscenes creating seamless gameplay, the various continuations of it, and most importantly of course the lack of a Half-Life 3 or Episode 3. Half-Life really is endless. Until Valve makes a third game of course. We've waited 5,000 days. Surely it can't be that much longer. Right?